This is my report on week 4 of my personal 12 boots in 12 weeks challenge. I have been all over the place this week, so let's go. G'day, welcome back to Bootlosophy, and if we haven't met, my name is Tech. If we haven't met, you'll have no idea what the hell I'm talking about when I talk about my 12 boots in 12 weeks challenge. So if you don't know, or if you're a subscriber but you haven't seen the earlier versions of this video, go in to my channel, go and look for the playlist area and find the playlist 12 boots in 12 weeks, where I put the introduction video about what this concept is all about, and weeks 1, 2, and 3 should already be there. But what this is me wearing 12 boots out of my extensive 140 boot collection within the next 12 weeks, or we're only partway through it. But first, let me acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which I'm filming today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. Now, for those of you who saw week 3, you know that I ended week 3 by being in Darwin. So today is Wednesday of week 4, and I started this week by being in Darwin on Saturday, Sunday, and I flew back on Monday. Boot number 1 for this week was the Crown Northampton Woodford Desert Boot. If you saw the end of my last video of week 3, you'll see that I was wearing this and I was holding this up in a much warmer location up in Darwin. So I wore this, at the start of the week is Saturday, I wore this from the previous week. I wore this on Saturday, Sunday, and then I flew home on Monday wearing these. Not much to say, I guess, about the wear. I've already talked about the comfort, and if I can just reiterate, it's so soft. I've got a shoe tree in it at the moment. It is so soft and flexible that it flops around when you take your boots off. So this very thin CF Stead suede is just gorgeous to the touch. Does pick up a bit of dirt in a dusty city, but it's basically quite comfortable because of the crepe sole, as dirty and ugly as it is. And the patina, if I just maybe take the shoe tree off, the patina that it shows is in the wear of the suede, and you can see particularly in the vamp, the nap is sort of going the wrong way, and it has its own beauty, I think. I'm starting to really get used to the unstructured or very lightly structured toe box, and I'm getting used to the very flat leather insole. I think because mainly my foot is really starting to put a little bit of a hollow where the ball of my feet are. So it's not as if I'm standing on a flat piece of wood anymore. So comfort factor has improved. But what I really love about it is the way that the nap is moving around, and that's really showing off different heights and lows and variations. So that was Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then when I got back to Perth, I wore this pair of boots on Tuesday and Wednesday to go to the office. Wednesday's today. This is the Tricker's Stow boot. But as contrary as I am, instead of buying, and also because of the sale, instead of buying the Stow boot in the famous acorn leather, this was on sale, the Hydro Nubuck from Charles F. Stead, waterproof leather. I am in two minds about this boot. I do really like the brogue boot. I love English country tramping boots, and this is the prime version of that. So aesthetically, I'm really liking this boot. I am a bit confused though, because I know that the Tricker's Stow boot in the acorn has a partly gusseted tongue because it's a walking boot. It's meant to be for walking in long grass while you're out tramping through the countryside or shooting birds or whatever. So you want a little bit of waterproofness. This boot, the uppers are in Hydro Nubuck, which is a waterproof nubuck treated by Charles F. Stead to be waterproof, but it is not gusseted. The tongue is not gusseted. That confuses me. If you have one pair of boots surely your clicking stamps, the stamps that you cut the leather with, are exactly the same. So they must cut the same pattern of leathers. So why haven't they gusseted the tongue? I'm confused, particularly as you have a waterproof upper. Why aren't you increasing the waterproofness a little bit by stopping water egress there? Very confused. I'm also still unhappy about the comfort of this pair of boots. My friend Ellie, who's on Instagram as the Heritage Tribute, loves his Trickers boots, and he says, be patient, they'll become comfortable. But what I find is, despite the nice wide round toe last, which is excellent for comfort and walking, you're not feeling your knuckles squeezed, is not accompanied by a thin waist. And in fact, as you can see, the waist is quite wide there. So what that means is, unlike, say, Parkhurst's 618 last, unlike Grant Stone's diesel boots, Leo last, unlike Alden's Indy, this part of the boot here isn't tucked in to help your arch push in. The inside of the boot, there's a leather insole, which to my mind is very flat. And those two things make me feel that there isn't enough arch support in these. In fact, I've had to go out and buy one of those arch support sticker things that you can get from a pharmacy, which is a bit like a wedge. If you cut a cross section, it's a wedgie shape that you glue in, and it butts up against that and just pushes your arch up. Otherwise, standing around all day, my feet were getting tired. So I'm in two minds. I mean, this is £750, I think. I got it on sale for 300 and something pounds, I think. The Stow boot with the acorn leather is also £750. No difference. I don't understand what it is about it. I mean, it's got a beautiful storm welt. I cannot complain about the construction. I cannot complain about the materials. Top class. I'm just unconvinced about the comfort of this in everyday wear. As for patina, the more I wear this, I think the prettier this Nubuck gets. It started off being almost like two different pieces of Nubuck, very smooth on the vamp and the toe and on the heel, and a sort of pebbly effect on the quarters. It's now become, as you can see, it's starting to roll at the vamp. It's rolling at the ankle. Even the inside ankle is rolling, and the back. So I'm going to wear this more. I will. I do want to see where I can stretch it in terms of the comfort. And I guess I've got to have patience. And then at the end of 12 weeks, I'll tell you whether this fully broke in. It's an interesting thing. If you find a pair of boots that's hard to break in, like say my Nick's Overlander, that was very firm. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it was firm. But you knew it had to be broken in. So you broke it in. And as you wore it, you could feel it get more and more comfortable. When you first put your foot in this, it doesn't feel like it needs breaking. This is very soft and supple. The sole bent quite easily. But because of that, you don't think, oh, I'm going to need to break this in. You just think, it doesn't need breaking. Why is it so uncomfortable underfoot? Very strange. The interesting thing is, let me just get this other boot. Yes, here we are. This is a new boot that I cheated with last week. It's not on my 12 boots list, but I just received it last week. So I did it. I filmed an unboxing, and I was so desperately wanting to wear it. So I cheated and wore it for one day to the office. This is the same country boot style. It's from Herring. This is the Corsham model. It's the same country boot style. You can see the broguing, the wide toe, round toe, very similar in shape and so on. But this just seems so much more comfortable. I think there's a thick rubber outsole for a start. I think the shape of the last somehow helps to push your heel up there. I won't say too much about it because the review is coming. I think it'll be uploaded tomorrow. No, sorry, the unboxing will be open tomorrow. You can have a look at this. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the Trickers. We'll persevere and see what happens to them. So the next segment you're going to see is me filming in Darwin. I'm flying up to Darwin tomorrow, which is a Thursday morning, and I'm going to spend 8 days up there. So let's go to Darwin. So to close the week, here we are in sunny Darwin, and I've been wearing this pair of boots in Darwin. This is the R.M. Williams Classic Craftsman Chelsea boot. Now, I have reviewed the Classic Craftsman Chelsea before in Chestnut, but this is not that boot. If you go and take a look at my video, it's a full review. This is actually a newer boot. Now, that boot I bought in 7.5H. 7.5 UK size is my true size. But I have found that the Comfort Craftsman lasts, in fact all the Craftsman lasts, are a little bit too narrow for me if I take the standard G size. So in those days, this is many years ago now, the sales lady said, well, you should have a wide width last, so take the 7.5 in H. That turned out to be a mistake, because one of the issues that I have with R.M. Williams lasts is when they go wide, everything goes wide proportionally. And the issue with Chelsea boots is you need the heels to lock in and you need the instep to lock in. So when everything is proportionately wider, I find that when I'm walking along, my foot sort of slides up and down the sole, which doesn't make for a particularly comfortable walk. But I had persevered. Now, this was years ago. They're now up for sale because I do realize now, since 2020 and really getting to know my size, that was the wrong thing to do. So I now buy R.M. Williams half up in length size, but still staying in the G width. And this is what this is. Now, this is a second. I bought this $200 off retail at their Adelaide second store. However, I have to say, I'm not entirely sure why it's a second, because I can't see anything spectacularly wrong with it. Now, it is a yearling leather boot as opposed to a calf. R.M. Williams used to make these in calf leather, and now they make them in yearling. Now, I never knew the difference. I always thought they were young cows. But a yearling is literally under a year, whereas a calf could be any young cow. The leather for a yearling is much, much softer, even than calf. And maybe as a result of that, it's over creasing a little bit. And perhaps that's the reason it's a second, although there were no creases when I bought it. All of this I put on. This is an opportunity for me, I think, in this 12-week challenge to really break these in. They don't need a lot of break-in, but these are quite new. They're about a year old, but I've hardly worn them because I have so many boots, as you know. So this is a good opportunity to wear them for a week and really break them in. As I say, it doesn't really need a break-in. It has a pour-on footbed. It has a rubber comfort outsole. It doesn't have a midsole, but what it does have is a foam foot pad rather than cork. Yes, there's a lot of artificial material, but it's called a Comfort Craftsman for a reason. And many of us choose to have the comfort rather than to, soldier on and be heritage boot people. This is a heritage boot. They're just using modern materials. The issue I have with it, though, is it's currently around Australian $700. In my mind, there's a large amount of fashion pricing in that. I'm sorry to say that I can't see it being around $700. In the 600s for sure. Just because of what it's made of and how it's made and handcrafted and so on. But anyway, what I'm hoping to see from this boot in this 12-week challenge is to see, I know that this leather, because I've seen it in my friends' boots, changes shade as you're wearing it more and more often. It lightens up where there's pressure, and then as you condition it, interestingly enough, it doesn't change that much if you're not using a colored conditioner. I don't know what it is with me and my right toe. I've scuffed it yet again, and all I've done is wear it in the city of Darwin. Strange. I wore this on the plane up on Thursday. Arrived at 2 o'clock in Darwin, went straight and took a taxi, went straight to work, facilitated 2 meetings with the executive staff of this corporation that I'm working with. On Friday, whole day in facilitation with different groups of this group of executive staff, and I'm doing that again all of next week. So it's going to be interesting to put these on. On Thursday, I went to dinner on my own wearing these. When you're in a hotel, you usually only have one pair of boots. And then on Friday, I went out with some friends to a fantastic charcuterie board dinner. That was really wonderful. So Looking forward to see how these patina. That's my focus with these, is to wear them enough that they actually start to really patina. And you can see the rolls already starting to appear. So I quite like that. So there you go. That's the end of this week. Next week I'm in Darwin, so I'll be wearing this pair of boots again all week. So that'll be interesting. I'll bring you the report once I get home, and I'll shoot it on Saturday as I normally do. So don't forget to click on like and subscribe. Tell me what you think of this series, and is there anything that I should get into? Let me tell you a little summary of what I'm thinking so far. This is only the 4th week. I think even 12 boots in 12 weeks is actually very hard to put proper wear into boots, clearly. There are a lot of boots, because it's midwinter down south in Perth. I'm finding it very hard to wear some of my outdoor boots, like the NYX Overlander, like my Gym Green Numzant, that I haven't even put on in these last 4 weeks. And I find some of my dressy boots I wear quite often, like the Rudiger, because I go to work. But the smart casual boots, not so much, because I'm working the whole week. And, if I go out of an evening, I might put them on, but there's not enough to wear the selection I had. So I'm coming to the conclusion that I think in the forthcoming weeks, I'm only going to pick 2 or 3, maybe even 2 pairs of boots to wear, and then see how they configure. And of course, if the weather gets better and I start to dig in the garden, start pruning trees and everything, I will put on a Numzant, because that is my go-to work boot. And if you go and see my review, you'll see that I've actually used it as my go-to work boot. But anyway, that's upcoming. Don't forget to come and join me next week to see what's happened. There's also a boot review the day before I release the 12 boots in 12 weeks video. And if you want to catch up, go to my channel, look for the playlist, 12 boots in 12 weeks, and watch them from the start to now, and then carry on from there. All right, guys, you take care out there, and I'll see you next week.